Greetings! You're watching Septum Sin vs. the World. I'm Septum Sin, and I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Right.
And we're here to inform you about the new releases on Blu-ray and DVD and all things for you and me to pick up next week.
Yes. For the release day of November 21st, 2017, the first one we have is from Wellgo USA. It's another one of them Korean films. And it looks pretty interesting. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I'll be able to watch it. It's called The Villainess. And I'll read your little description here. In The Villainess, Suki is a trained assassin who was born to kill. She was just a little girl when the training started in Yanbian, China. After the death of her mentor, when the chance to start a new life was given to her, she came to South Korea as a government agent. They promised freedom after 10 years of service. So she begins her new life, or afterwards, I guess, begins her new life as a theater actress. But soon two men, Jun Song and Hyun Soo, appear in her new life, and she started to find deep, dark secrets about her past. So, she goes to get revenge.
Revenge!
Yes. Kettle chips. No. From what I've seen, it looks interesting. The setup looks interesting. I wanted to see it until I read some of the user comments on IMDb, where I have been led to believe that it's a little bit gory for my taste. Unfortunately, this is apparently the description that I've heard a couple of times is that it makes Kill Bill look family friendly, basically.
It's a family friendly Kill Bill.
Yes. It supposedly is right in the same vein, and Quentin Tarantino would probably let himself with excitement over this movie, but it's, no offense to you, Mr. Tarantino, if you catch that, but it's not something that I'm sure I'll be able to watch, but if you ever get to it, you'll have to let me know if I can watch it.
If I ever get to it.
Yeah. It looks interesting.
Yeah, it's one of many millions like it, I'm sure. But I'm sure it'll be fun, I'm sure, for those who watch it. If you do watch it, of course, any of these that I know I'm never going to see, please let me know. There is one on this list, number 5, I really do want to see, and so we'll catch that.
There's a few here, yeah.
One I have seen in theaters is Secret World of Arrietty, which is the next one up, and that one bears no actual writing, which is why I didn't bother to write anything on it, because it's a basis.
Because you know everything.
I mean, it's a Ghibli film.
Yeah.
It's another in that G-Kids/Shout Factory release. And it's based on the story The Borrowers, which there are many incarnations. The one I'm most familiar with growing up was a cartoon show called The Littles, which was a very cutesy cartoon, Saturday morning thing. And this one, this family moves in and finds this little world of borrowers living in their house. And it's very entertaining. I really loved the music. It's not the strongest Ghibli offering, but nowhere near the weakest by all means.
The Secret World of Arrietty is, it's by Hiromasa Yonebayashi, who went on to do When Marnie Was There.
Oh, much better release for me.
Definitely better film. Arrietty was missing something to me, but I know that people love it. Kids love it. It's a great film in terms of just basic entertainment value. Just something was kind of missing for me. But the music is phenomenal. It's by a French harpist, Cécile Corbel, who actually sent Ghibli a sample of her work. And they have their own in-house musician, Joe Hisaishi. But they hired Miss Corbel to do the music on the basis of her sample.
Oh, that's really awesome.
They inserted one of her songs called The Garden Song, and she recorded a new one called Arrietty's Song. And I don't know if you saw, I don't know if the original release we have has this, but this release has the music video for Arrietty's Song. So that would be a nice little bonus feature. This is a G-Kids Shout Factory release, just like the next one we're going to cover. Arrietty is also a gorgeous film. Are you trying to... let's check and see what it has.
So yeah, we got here on this is the actual Disney release of it, which I'm sure we got the Arietti song performed by the singer.
Oh, so it does have the music video.
Yeah, it's got the music video.
I need to watch that.
Well, Disney does a good job with their releases.
Yeah.
It's not so bad. They got the Summertime music video and the making of that.
Summertime was the one that Disney inserted at the end, right? That wasn't really part of it. Yeah. Okay.
But Disney does that.
Yeah, they do. But the next one up, the G-Kids Shout Factory is doing 2 releases on this week. This one was never one of my favorites, but it's still a fun film. This one is a Hayao Miyazaki film called Porco Rosso.
That version.
Not this version. This is the original Disney DVD release. But Porco Rosso, as you can tell, is about a flying pig. And it basically is it's a World War I set, but it's very fanciful, very, obviously this guy has become a pig by a curse, I believe, and it's a really fun movie. It's really fun. It's a good all ages kind of movie. Like I said, it was never my favorite Ghibli film, but it definitely is a solid entry, and arguably a somewhat better film than Arrietty. I think Arrietty's the prettier film, and the music's more awesome, but they're both very well worth getting, and if you don't already have them, this will add another opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Yes. It was a nice one. It came out around, they released it in America around the same time as The Cat Returns.
Yeah.
So, to me, they were kind of both.
That was in like that second or third wave, I think, of the re-releases that they did.
I felt like they released those two as sort of afterthoughts, to tell you the truth. It was just, more that we can push out.
Well, yeah.
So the next up is an actual series by Funimation is releasing called Myriad of Colors.
Actually, Myriad Colors Phantom World is the title. It's much longer.
Yeah, well, this is the easier way of looking at it.
Yeah, whatever.
That's whatever. So it contains 13 episodes. It's about these people seeing phantoms, and these things are trying to cause mischief.
Some of them.
Some of them. But there's this other person, this Ichijo character, who is able to face them, and so she gets together.
That Ichijo.
With this girl named Mai, and the fairy companion, who's also sort of like a phantom, and they go and they take on these particular creatures born from the human mind. And they need to do a lot to take them out. So that's pretty much what I've read about it, and it looks okay, and I've not got much more to say about it, really.
I admit this is one that caught my interest. It's a colorful series. It's well animated from what I've seen. The artwork looks good, definitely. It is supposed to be a little bit of an ecchi series, so I'm not sure, if it's... It may not be... Well, it won't be for everybody, and it may not be the highest quality series.
For everyone.
I think it's supposed to be pretty good, The next one I'm very curious in. I think you just said you were quite curious about too. It's called New Game, Season 1. 18-year-old Aoba Suzukaze is joining the character design team at the company that makes her favorite video games. Every game nerd's dream come true, really, yeah. But the real world of office culture can be a challenge for a total noob. From her awkward first day to her first game's debut, she's got a lot of skills to master. Luckily, her charming determination wins over her quirky coworkers, and before she knows it, Aoba has joined the party. This is also a Funimation release. It's a show I know very little about, but it sounds very interesting. It sounds a little bit like a gaming, kind of like a little bit of The Guild and a little bit of Shirobako. It's kind of very interesting.
My thoughts were like a comic party and animation runner. Was it Kuromi?
Yeah.
And I don't know, just something that shows a little bit more of the inside and underbelly. That season 1 makes me wonder how long it's actually going to be. But if it's
Probably
not too
2
long,
seasons.
if it's like one of those, it's like, hey, this is just part one. We're going to do 2 parts. I'll wait till both of them are released, and I might actually get that one. It does strike my interest a lot. There was one that was.
Did you? Oh, go on.
There was one that was released by the people who released Death Note. Gosh, I can't think of it, but it was also one that was about manga creators. It started with a B.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about, right?
yeah.
They only released 1 DVD volume, which was sad because that one looked like it would be interesting. So I'd like to wait to see what this one has to say.
Did you ever see Shirobako?
I have not, but I own it.
Yeah. Well, that's you're talking about the inside of the industry, and actually that one is one that I described as a hybrid of Animation Runner, Chromie, Genshin, Kaon. So this one, but yeah, it sounds very fun. And the next one, I think you also shortened the title excessively.
Well,
So I think it was Legends of Zestiria X, isn't it?
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's Legends of Zestiria. I mean, you can look it up by that if it's not the full title. I just grabbed whatever Right Stuff had at the top of their thing. But legends speak of the shepherd, a savior who will bring peace to the Sephirim and human worlds. Seraphim, yes. Sori has spent his life studying ancient books and exploring ruins to learn more about the legendary savior. When he and his Seraphim companion, Mikelo, encounter a mysterious girl in the ruins, the stories of the shepherd become Sori's reality. Is he strong enough to take on the evil Lord of Calamity? Boy, that sounds like it's right out of RPG, doesn't it?
But probably not strong enough to take on the League of Calamitous Intent.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know. This one looks interesting. The start of a potentially long series, maybe. Looks like another fantasy-type series. From what I saw in the pictures of it, I just don't know.
I was puzzled because I could swear this title's been around for a while, but I could be wrong. But
well, never underestimate a re-release.
I don't know. But I mean, this particular series, I looked it up on ANN, and it's like 2 years old at the most. I mean, it's like brand new. Well, almost brand new. Slightly older series is getting a re-release this week, and he has a visual.
One of the things for Future Diary.
Rather famous and one could say notorious show, Future Diary, Mirai Nikki. I think we watched the first episode.
Yeah.
Wasn't that like when we were doing like a whole bunch of previewing?
Well, I didn't know how bad she really was. At
this character,
episode.
supposedly, this character is evil.
The true definition of yandere.
Yeah. But this is a show. Okay, we'll read the preview here. Yukiteru is an introvert who quietly observes life and jots down its mundane events on his cell phone. Suddenly, new entries that he did not write appear. It turns out that his cell is a future diary, a device that predicts the future. Obviously. Knowing the future is great, except for one catch. Yukiteru and 11 others are part of a survival game. The goal of the game, eliminate all the other diary holders.
Yep.
And you get most of the gist of that in the first episode, but it definitely doesn't get into the particulars, especially about the other. But from what I understand, the series does a good job of fleshing out and building up most of the diary holders. And again, that pink-haired girl is one of the most infamous characters in recent anime history.
Yeah.
The thing, apparently, that distinguishes next week's release from his is that it includes the OVA.
Yep.
So if you are a completist, this is definitely the way to go.
I'm sad.
I admit one of the reasons I did not get Future Diary as it was released is I think this is one of the ones that Funimation split into many pieces.
Well, I thought I had it when I got it when it was whole, you know.
But because I remember like it came out about the same time as Guilty Crown, and they did the same thing with both series. It's one that I really do want to see one of these days. I've heard so much about it. And for 27 episodes, basically, in one package, that's a pretty decent buy there. I'll probably wait till it comes down a little in price, because you know.
I
But
got my copy for like $20.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good price for the series. I'll probably try to get it closer to $15, but we'll see what happens.
So this one I've heard a lot about. I've heard some gushing about this, but I've also heard it's too expensive, which is because it's from Aniplex.
Yes.
Which is Kizu Monogatari, and this is part 3, Reiketsu, which is a movie, and I guess the third movie in the series.
Yeah.
So, with help from Meme Oshino, the apparition specialist, Koyomi defeats the 3 powerful vampire hunters. Dramaturgy episode of episode and whatever that is.
Guillotine Cutter.
Guillotine Cutter? Okay, that's alright. Koyomi takes back all the limbs of Kiss Shot, Acerola, Orion, Heart, Underblade. My goodness, that is a... why is it people are loving on this series? In order to become the human
that
again.
3 times fast.
But when he returns to Kiss Shot, she reveals to him the cold truth of what it means to be a vampire, a creature of the night. Unable to take back what he has done, Koyomi feels nothing but regret and can only deny his dreadful fate. While Koyomi is struggling to face the reality of his reality, his friend Tsubasa Hanakawa comes to him with a certain plan. So this is part 3 of a very popular series. I hear in the anime community people like going, I love this. I want all of it. I want this. This is the collector's gold, is to get all of this. And it's extremely expensive. It's like $70 a volume. So, you know, best with it. I never got involved in this because of Aniplex. That is the reason why I never bothered even looking at it. But I've heard, yes, it is supposedly a very good series.
Granted, from what I remember, I think this collection does have more goodies than your typical Aniplex collection. But it's still expensive for a movie, especially for part 3 of a series.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a series I'd love to see one day. Who knows? Next up, I'm kind of glad I got this, because this is a show I really want to see.
Yes.
It's a new release from Sentai Filmworks, and they're doing the DVD and Blu-ray, but they're also doing the fancy box set with this one. And it's called Haven't You Heard? I'm Sakamoto. Step into Classroom 1-2 and meet the coolest guy in school. In fact, Sakamoto may just be the coolest guy ever. And that's not just because he makes his student uniform and glasses look like a fashion magazine cover. There's also the fact that nothing ever seems to surprise or rattle him. The girls are all crazy for him, of course, but even the most macho delinquents start to feel a little funny when he's around. However, Sakamoto never seems to notice, let alone take advantage of the attention. He's too busy being cool and mysterious without even trying. This does drive some people crazy, but the more someone tries to challenge Sakamoto, the more they start to fall under his spell. Intrigued? Then come join the class and get a lesson in cool from the master. And haven't you heard? I'm Sakamoto.
You know what that reminds me of? That series we covered last week about the guy who is the calligraphy genius. He doesn't realize he is.
Was that Hanako-kun or whatever?
Whatever it is. It is just... Yeah. I don't know why. It just reminded me of that stuff.
I don't know, but I do know Sentai has been promoting the heck out of this series. And it definitely... It looks fun. And the whole idea of school for delinquents, I'm getting the impression... You know, it just reminds me of Cromartie High. Makes me wonder how he would have fit in with that cast.
He wouldn't have been there. He's too good a student.
Probably. But it looks fun. I mean, these kind of characters can be insufferable. But every now and then they can be really good. And I remember reading on ANN, one of the reviewers was saying something like, I can't believe I like this guy. But I guess that's what they were talking about, followed under a spell. But it looks interesting. And I'm not shelling out for the deluxe edition, although all these Sentai ones, the deluxe editions look really cool. but it's I'll probably get the basic edition eventually. Probably when I can get the Blu-ray for $16 or something like that, maybe more. But yeah,
I got this one, huh? All right. Well, you got that next one, so I don't feel too bad. So from Lionsgate, we have a Ryan Reynolds, Sam Jackson collaboration called The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Mm-hmm.
So enter Ryan Reynolds, the excellent ultimate bodyguard. Enter the antagonist that always was his foil, Samuel L. Jackson, who was a notorious hitman. Now, Sam Jackson has hired Ryan Reynolds as his bodyguard, and the two rivals must work together.
Assigned to.
Well, close enough, you know. And he has to escape the evil Gary Oldman.
And the evil Gary Oldman is evil.
So, you know, I don't really feel too badly about this because it looks like something. It didn't really get great ratings, but I'm sure it will be fun because Ryan Reynolds is a fun actor, and I love Sam Jackson in almost anything he's in. And Gary Oldman's fun to watch, especially when he's playing a bad guy. So,
not to mention
Salma Hayek is in there too. Yeah,
she's still gorgeous. No, and very talented. Very talented. All of them are. Oldman's, I think he's one of the more chameleonic actors out there. I can't wait to see Darkest Hour. That's going to be good. Yeah. But it's funny though.
You got the great hope of many sci-fi peoples.
Just like a couple weeks ago, I was looking at maybe going to the local art house theater. Well, we could call it art house theater, you know, whatever. Second run theater, and they were playing Mother, which I kind of want to see, but I kind of don't want to go to the theater to see it anymore. But they paired it with Hitman's Bodyguard, and I was like, I don't want to see that. And then we were doing previews here, and I was like, oh, well, okay. That might have been a good one to pair with Mother. But, oh well, whatever. But this one was one that looked interesting. I sure saw enough previews for it. And it came out and sank without a trace.
Yeah.
But it's a new sci-fi film from Luc Besson. It's called Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Better than House of 1,000 Corpses.
I'll admit that's kind of a cool title, but it's a memorable title. But in the 28th century, Valerian, who is played by Dean Dehane, I forgot, and Laureline, you just put their last names.
Well, this was the summary I was given.
Laureline, who's played by Cara Delevingne, are a team of special operatives charged with maintaining order throughout the human territories. Under assignment for the Minister of Defense, the two embark on a mission to the astonishing city of Alpha, an ever-expanding metropolis where species from all over the universe have converged over centuries to share knowledge, intelligence, and cultures with each other, which actually sounds like a pretty cool place to visit.
Yeah.
There's a mystery at the center of Alpha, though. A dark force which threatens the peaceful existence of the city of 1,000 planets. And Valerian and Laureline must race to identify the marauding menace and safeguard not just Alpha, but the future of the universe. If they're marauding, you'd think they'd be easy to identify, though.
Yeah, well, you know, it is.
But anyway, this show, the user comments on IMDb, the lack of buzz in theaters, everything leads me to believe that basically what I've read and heard is pretty accurate, that apparently it's a gorgeous movie. Apparently the animation is pretty darn good. The art direction is pretty good. People are amazed at the visual of the movie, but almost without fail, they seem to go, but the plot kind of sucked. Or the writing kind of sucked. One reviewer I read, oh man, it was a fun review. It was so bad. Not as bad as the reviews I read about the next one on the list, but still, it looks like one I'm going to want to see one of these days, and it could even be an Oscar nominee for production design or visual effects.
Yeah.
And if it is, I'll have to see it. But it's not quite as the priority I was hoping it would be.
It's Valerian had a lot of hope behind a lot of sci-fi people to be. This is going to be the next great sci-fi film. And I kept seeing more and more people hopeful, but cautious. And unfortunately, everybody's caution paid off because they were worried this is what was going to happen. And so it turned out to be a meh film.
Well, I guess, though, when you pair Luc Besson and Cara Delevingne, that's almost guaranteed to happen. Because, my impression was up here for Suicide Squad until it came out. And then it was like... and with Besson, I was really stoked about Lucy. And then I watched it and I was like... boring. Whatever. So, I don't know.
So, next one is Birth of the Dragon, released by Universal. This is an homage to a lot of those classic movies that, the martial arts movies that Bruce Lee was known for, the sort of beat-em-up Chinese martial arts epics set in 1960s San Francisco. Taking its inspiration from the original big fight that got Bruce Lee's whole thing started. Again, I don't know much about this. It sounds more like, Dragon. I don't know if you remember that film. That was like the Bruce Lee biopic where his son actually played him.
No, I did see that.
Yeah, that's what this reminds me
Dragon,
of.
the Bruce Lee story?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no.
I mean, it's not really about him, but it's more of an homage, but it has a similarity to it.
No, it's not about him, and that pissed a lot of people off. I read a lot of the user comments on IMDb. They were pissed. Apparently, the movie focuses on some white dude who was Bruce Lee's student.
Yeah.
And the reaction when the movie was screened was so bad that Universal went back and recut the film to take the focus off of that guy, but he's still the main character of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are pissed. They're saying this is like one of the biggest examples of Hollywood whitewashing in years, that it's an insult to Bruce Lee and his memory. It's just, I don't know if I'll ever get around to seeing it, but part of me wants to, that whole train wreck syndrome thing. But people are pissed about this movie.
Go watch the Brandon Lee movie.
Yeah. But, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story was a perfectly decent movie, yeah.
And a good homage to Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you would hope so. Okay, so my next one's another one that didn't exactly get a stellar reception, but this one's called Jungle. It's a Sony release. An enthusiastic young adventurer follows his dreams into the Amazon jungle with two friends and a guide with a mysterious past. Their journey quickly turns into a terrifying ordeal as the darkest elements of human nature and the deadliest threats of the wilderness lead to an all-out fight for survival. I'm intrigued because the enthusiastic young adventurer is played by Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh.
And the guide is played by Thomas Kretschmann. And that's a pretty good start for a cast there. Unfortunately, the movie is apparently based on a real story, and a lot of people were like, why would you base a movie on these idiots? Not only that, I could... Maybe this is me jumping to unfortunate conclusions, and I shouldn't, but we were just talking about like whitewashing stuff and whatever. Radcliffe, apparently, he doesn't strike me as someone that would play an Israeli national and do it convincingly. So that seems a little odd. I could be wrong. I don't know the guy that this is based off of.
Yeah.
But I do know that the movie got, at best, a middling reception. I had never heard of it before we started doing these previews. I'm continue to be intrigued by what Radcliffe is doing to distance himself from just being Harry Potter. And he has made some very interesting choices.
Well, Swiss Army Men.
I still haven't seen that. That almost looks too weird for me.
That first scene of the movie where he's like just gliding up to the island, it's just
yeah. And so you did see that?
I saw cuts from it, and I saw that one.
I've seen the previews.
It's just
yeah, but anyway, so Jungle, check it out. or not. I don't care.
Well, Arrow is going along its line of re-releasing classic and interesting dark films. Speaking of dark, this particular one is Donnie Darko, being released on Steelbook.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be confused with its sequel, S. Darko, which is a terrible, horrible thing that should be burned.
Never saw it.
But Donnie Darko is really a story of madness, despair, and angst, following our young Donnie Darko. It really is a good film. I really enjoyed it. I still consider it one of my top ones. I won't be getting the Steelbook, but I know that it is an awesome thing because Arrow is releasing it, and Arrow does a great job with almost everything.
I thought you got all Steelbooks.
No, I only get the Steelbooks if I don't have it, or if it's a Star Wars film. I have to get every Star Wars film in Steelbook. It just happens like that.
Yeah, Donnie Darko is one I've long thought was overrated, but I've always liked it. It is. I like it partly because the guy that directed it comes from our neck of the woods, so that's really cool, And actually, his follow-up film, The Box, I think actually largely was filmed in Virginia, but Donnie Darko, I think, was filmed mostly elsewhere.
Yeah.
But it has a heck of a cast. It's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Jenna Malone, Kathleen Turner, if I remember correctly, Noah Wyle, the Patrick Swayze, and Drew Barrymore. And I have to laugh because no offense to the memory of Patrick Swayze, I've never been a fan. And
Roadhouse.
The part in Donnie Darko where Jake Gyllenhaal's character stands in an auditorium and says to Patrick Swayze's character he thinks he's the effing Antichrist. I just thought that was hilarious. And again, no offense to his memory, but given that I'm not a fan, the idea that they put that in the movie just cracked me up. And just Swayze does play a sleazebag in the movie who's like a self-help guru, but he's total sleazebag. It's a good movie. It's worth watching. I would be tempted to get the Steelbook, if only because I need to convert mine to Blu-ray, but I don't have the budget to justify jumping on that.
Me too on that. That's just too much.
Yeah. The next one is one
that's animated, isn't it?
Yeah, it is animated. And I was a little unclear about whether this is the original cast, but this is a fascinating cast. It's an animated film from Lionsgate called Leap. And it's about ballet. 11-year-old orphan Félicie is played by Elle Fanning, has one dream to go to Paris and become a dancer. Her best friend, Victor, an imaginative, exuberant boy with a passion for creating, has a dream of his own to become a famous inventor. In a leap, roll credits, of faith, well, shout out to CinemaSins there, Victor and Félicie leave their orphanage in pursuit of their passions. But there's a catch. Félicie must pretend to be the child of a wealthy family in order to gain admittance to the prestigious and competitive Opera Ballet School in Paris. And etc., etc. Basically, it's a sort of a scrappy underdog story where the underdog is an orphan. She's learning ballet. Obviously, this could end up being Oscar bait material. It wouldn't surprise me.
It might be submitted. I mean,
it's a French-Canadian co-production, which is why I'm not sure if this is the original cast. This may be the American dub. There may be, or it may be the original. I'm not sure, but it's a heck of a cast. Elle Fanning is the main character. Nat Wolff is her friend. But among the other various individuals in the cast, you have Kate McKinnon, currently killing it as one of the better people SNL's ever had, and Mel Brooks, of all people. So it's like just the idea of all them in one movie. An animated film about ballet does not leap off the page at me.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about that cast.
Yeah, though he's not directing anything. Mel Brooks really has shown a lot of acting, at least voice acting.
He has
I've
shown
seen
up.
him a
He
lot,
was in Hotel Transylvania
Yeah.
too. That was kind of fun. Underrated series.
This one is sort of a documentary by Gravitas.
It is a document
called California Typewriter, which really goes into the death of the typewriter and what a beloved technology that was, and really the dynamic between humans and machines as, of course, we move on to modern life. So you've got some pretty awesome collectors that they look at and some obsessives like Tom Hanks, John Mayer, David McCullough, and Sam Shepard. So this is the celebration of all things typewriter. So you need to get your fingers out and start typing right away for this lovely California typewriter documentary.
Yeah. We've got a couple docs on the list this week, but this one definitely sounds interesting. The next one is another Lionsgate release, and I see what you did here. You intentionally gave me the Robert Pattinson one, and then you took the Criterion one. Okay, I see. Anyway, no, from acclaimed film. Well, this is called Good Time.
Good Time.
From acclaimed filmmakers Josh and Benny Safdie, for Heaven Knows What, or Lenny Cook, comes this hypnotic, adrenaline-fueled crime thriller in a career-defining role, like Twilight was. Robert Pattinson stars as Connie Mikas, who embarks on a twisted one-night odyssey through the city's underworld in a desperate and dangerous attempt to get his brother Nick out of jail. Now, who is apparently played by one of the directors. I actually heard someone describe this as Trainspotting meets Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Well, that sounds good, actually.
If that is accurate, that could be a pretty interesting movie. And I am always willing to forgive people bad roles. Robert Pattinson is not always awful, so I'll be curious to see if this is positively a career-defining role. It looks like, also from the idea of those movies, maybe Go might be a good comparison. I've seen a few movies along these lines, and it sounds interesting. And actually, the director of the next film, Terry Gilliam, has had Fear and Loathing might fall into that category a little bit. It sounds very interesting. I might give it a go one of these days, but it's not a top priority. Yeah.
I keep thinking of the theme song of the TV show Good Times.
Who knows? Maybe they featured that.
That's what the movie is. It's the movie of Good Times.
Yes.
With Robert Pattinson playing the lead role. Talk about whitewashing.
Oh, man. That'd piss some people off.
It would be.
Wow.
But, so, speaking of scraping at the bottom of the barrel, Criterion has published basically every Terry Gilliam film there is. I think so.
No, I don't think so.
I know because they got Time Bandits, for goodness
I don't
sakes.
think they did Toddland.
Okay.
I don't think they've done Zero Theorem.
So they've got a couple of them that are yet to be done. But this one, I still feel bottom of the barrel. Jabberwocky. I have had this in my collection, and I have had this out of my collection, and I've had this in my collection, and I've had this back out of my collection. That is to me how I feel about this film. The fact that it's getting the Criterion treatment does not impress me. Matter of fact, it's getting the Criterion treatment because it is a Gilliam film.
Yes.
It is one of my least favorite Gilliam films. I liked Tideland much more than I liked this one.
I actually kind of like Tideland. I know a lot of people hated it, but
this movie, it had funny parts. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it gets to a point where they're doing like a contest for the princess, and the contest is getting too bloody, so they're running out of night. So instead of the regular games, they have to call it. So they do hide and seek instead. And when you see the knights sneaking from tent to tent in full armor, it's actually quite funny to watch. The film is about this squire, or this peasant really, that gets to become a knight and take down the Jabberwocky, this dangerous creature, for the hand of the lovely princess. I understand where Gilliam went with this. He tried to actually do a medieval film that looks like a real medieval film. Hence the terrible lighting in the castles, the dirt, the grime, generally misery itself as it goes through. It's an okay film, though to me, his weakest.
Of course, Gilliam is I call him one of the biggest hard luck cases in movie history. And partly he does it to himself. He is a notoriously prickly individual. He also is notorious for wanting to do what he wants to do. And he will keep at it. I give the guy props. He finally wrapped principal photography on The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
I want to see that. I've got Malamacha.
He spent 20-some years trying to mount a production on The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. There's a documentary called Lost in La Mancha that I still need to see. But
good documentary.
But he has made some good films. The one Criterion release I have is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and that is well worth picking up on Criterion. I still am planning to get Brazil, and I almost did this time around. Maybe I will before the sale's over.
Yeah. If they do a good cleanup and the lighting is much better on this release, I might consider picking it up to get a better visual. It's just, like I say, it's just weak as all. I mean, it's sort of like, I don't know why I keep thinking of it and Cannibal the Musical in the same light. Because Cannibal the Musical is a superior film in many ways, but I feel like the technical filmmaking standards, they're about the same, which is sad because Terry Gilliam is much... That's the main reason why I find this film a disappointment, because Gilliam is better than this. He is much better.
Oh, yeah. He does have vision, weird as it is. And he does do a really good job. I don't think they've got a Criterion yet for the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh.
That needs one.
So why did they start here? Why did they do Time Bandits? I don't get this.
Anyway, so the next one we've got is called The Fall.
Yeah, you can have
Series
it's all
3.
yours.
This is Acorn Media. Detective Superintendent Stella Gibson and serial killer Paul Spector continue their cat and mouse game as the harrowing yet riveting psychological thriller comes to a heart-pounding conclusion. They really put Dornan's credit as 50 Shades of Grey. Really?
Oh, that's probably his best thing.
That speaks highly of this series here, doesn't it? First the dude from Twilight, and then the dude from 50 Shades of Grey. What are you doing to me here?
Can't be any worse than 50 Shades
The
of
Fall
Grey.
actually does look interesting. I think it's set I think in Ireland.
Yeah.
And it stars Gillian Anderson, and we were just talking about Jamie Dornan is the other guy. And it looks really good overall. Mm-hmm. It's a short, it's your typical British, 6 episodes. It's a short series. It's the third in the series, because again, they call each season a series, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to the story, if it's still going to be ongoing for a while, but it looks interesting. I like the idea of a cat and mouse between a cop and a killer. Those can be really fun stories. It's going to be really hard to look at it now that I'll associate that guy with 50 Shades of Grey.
Can't be any worse.
Anyway.
There you go. That's a good thing. The Fall. No worse than 50 Shades of Grey.
High praise. High praise indeed.
Actually, I get another really interesting film, My Journey Through French Cinema. This is about Bertrand Tavernier.
Bertrand
Tavernier. Sorry, my eyes can't read the... his personal journey through French cinema, from the films he enjoyed as a boy to his own early career, told through portraits of key creative figures. This looks to be very interesting, very artsy, and I keep hearing the song "I like French films, boring, pretentious French films."
We should have had that ready to play. Let me see.
Where they go to see the Red Balloon too. Don't move, or the red balloon becomes the dead balloon. If you haven't seen The Critic, you need to see The Critic. It is actually a very overlooked animated series from way back. I feel old. So, yeah.
I like French films, pretentious, boring French films. I like French films. 3 tickets, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. So,
Okay.
you get the next one, which...
Okay, this will be another documentary.
Yep.
Walk With Me. With unprecedented access, Walk With Me takes us deep inside the world-famous monastery of Zen Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh. I probably butchered that, but my apologies if I did. It captures the life of a monastic community who have given up all their possessions for one common purpose: to practice the art of mindfulness. Filmed over 3 years, this visceral film is a meditation on a community determined to develop a deep sense of presence, not just for themselves, but for all those they love. And so basically, and it's narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch. But I do know this monk, his books are very popular, and a lot of people like to read them. It's apparently a very, very good resource on this way of life, and the movie does sound very interesting. I will have to check this out. It looks I'm just, if only out of curiosity, I'd be curious to see this one.
Yeah. I like the documentaries that come out there. So we're going to go to Beach Rats, which I'm not going to really say much about. I think we can move through that without saying much.
Yeah, I have nothing really of interest for that one.
Follows Frankie, who lives in the outer edges of Brooklyn. He struggles to reconcile his competing sexual desires, leaving him hurtling towards irreparable consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that says it, really.
Very bored kid. Bored kid who tries to not be bored and apparently bores the audience in the meantime.
All right, so you've got that one. That looks like a better one from Zeitgeist.
I have one from Zeitgeist Films called Insight, something like that. The ancient Icelandic word for intuition is insight. But in Iceland, it has multiple meanings. And etc., etc. Apparently, this is a documentary about intuition. About it's kind of learning about yourselves and everything. This one I have more mixed interest in. The IMDb comments were not entirely flattering to this one. Apparently, it's kind of a what the hell kind of movie, but it could be worth a watch at some point. Definitely, it looks like one of the more artsy documentaries on the list, if after a fashion.
Yeah, it looks good overall. But then, of course, we got the less artsy. There's Accelerator. Yeah, they released a whole bunch, and then I had to look up this stuff on IMDb because they had nothing on Amazon about it. So we have Savage Dog, which is your typical like martial artsy thing about this in the 1959 where you have this Indochina prison and this former champion boxer Martin Tillman, played by Scott Atkins, is just got to go and fight and kick butt and take names. And I'm butchering the heck out of this story, but that's okay. And yeah, that's I think that's pretty good. I mean, you know, it's a revenge martial arts boxing fight drama.
Right. I'd forgotten how many documentaries we have on the list this week, and they are covering a lot of ground.
Yeah.
The next two are both Accelerator releases that I really
like
want
that second one.
I really want to see both of these. They've got good reviews. Both of them had very few reviews on IMDb, but they were overwhelmingly good to really good. The one I have here is called Spirit Game: Pride of a Nation. This documentary follows the Iroquois Nationals lacrosse team on the road as they compete in the 2015 World Box Lacrosse Championships. For the first time ever, the championship games were held on an Indian reservation in Onondaga in upstate New York, the capital of the Iroquois Confederacy. Now, I will admit, I don't give a damn about lacrosse. I really don't. But I am always interested to see new things.
Yeah.
And the idea of this being an historic moment for the Iroquois Nation definitely, I think, would be worth seeing a documentary about. Like I said, the initial reviews seem to be very positive. So it would probably be worth a look.
So, next documentary, again, Accelerator, again, or Accelerator, or whatever the thing is releasing this thing called Legend of 420, which is a comedy documentary outlining the progression of the ever-growing cannabis industry. I think that would be fun to watch. I mean, it looks fun. The little place card for it looks fun. Apparently, this group is just releasing a whole bunch of crap at the same time because they got 2 more releases next week.
Really?
Actually, yeah.
Oh yeah! Wow.
You got a horror movie and another comedy there.
But we've already gone through. Yeah, but now we're about to take a little bit of a nosedive. Dark Signal, also an Accelerator release. Very low rating on IMDb.
Yeah.
The spirit of a murdered girl returns with a message for the staff of a local radio station. Don't change the channel.
Actually, it reminds me of a Guilford Gottfried episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, where he was like the narrator of a spirit radio. I talked about that when we talked about the Gilbert Gottfried documentary.
Yeah. The descriptions I read, I was like, this might be a passably interesting, white noise movie. I mean, that would be, or are you talking about the movie White Noise?
White Noise, yeah.
It probably would be White Noise, yes. It like I said, it doesn't have a good rating. If you're into this kind of movie, it's probably worth a look. It looks fairly harmless, but it doesn't look like it'll be anything to write home about either. Yeah.
So, my last one is Nola Circus. This is a comedy about 2 competing barbershops in New Orleans. Basically, sending the lives of their owners, families, and friends spiraling out of control. I guess it's sort of in the spirit of the movie Barbershop, maybe. I don't know.
Probably not as good.
Probably not. But one thing about Accelerator is that they want to go wide with what they've got. You got some drama, you got some martial arts, you got some documentary, you got some comedy and horror.
and that, I guess.
And that's the end of Accelerator.
Yeah. That's really all. I think he covered most of it. Now, I think you missed something here. Doesn't this have Metropolis on it?
I just got what I found on the website, so it might. But
I could swear that it had Metropolis.
Well, you go ahead and cover. I'll look up and see what I can.
Okay. Well, anyway, this last one on the list, I am excited about this. I don't know when I'll be able to get it, but it looks like it would be worth getting. Kino Lorber is releasing a collection called Fritz Lang, The Silent Films. And again, I don't think this is a complete list, but he does have 10 movies listed here. I'm almost sure Metropolis is one of the ones on this collection. But the ones you have listed here, he's got Harakiri, The Plague of Florence, and The Spiders, all from 1919. From 1920, we've got The Wandering Shadow. 1921, we have Four Around the Woman and Destiny. From 22, Dr. Mabuse the Gambler. From 1924, Spies. From 27, Die Nibelungen. And from 1929, Woman in the Moon.
Okay, Metropolis is on there.
Yeah.
That's the only one I missed.
Okay,
That's 'cause
Metropolis
it
is from
started,
27.
Yeah.
He missed the most important one. Well, anyone who knows their silent film history
$94.
or who knows much about Fritz Lang or classic cinema or who watched our guest spot on Rebel Gaming Club's channel has probably heard of Metropolis. It is a great film. It's well worth watching. I cannot say I've seen anything else by... Well, no, I think I saw one more by Fritz Lang. It's not one of these movies. I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, well. But anyway, he was a very famous and influential director in the 20s into, I guess, the start of the 30s. I think his... I'm trying to remember what happened with him. I feel like he either left before the Nazis started coming to power or was drummed out of the... I can't remember what happened with him, but he was more influential early in German cinema. But at any rate, this is like a great film geek collection. I didn't really look at the individual films because there were so many of them. Metropolis is kind of a futuristic set in this city that's like people above the street and below the street, and kind of like kind of like a sci-fi upstairs downstairs kind of thing. It's really good. There's a really good anime based off of it, and it's also influenced a bunch of other stories through the years. And Lang himself is well known as a influence on quite a few directors. So
Yeah.
definitely worth looking at if you have the budget, or even if you don't, if you're really lucky and get it on sale.
I think that, Kino Lorber actually does good sales, and there's another one that they do in the summer, which will be good. So I am willing to wait on this one a little bit, but it is worth getting just so you can have a lot of good stuff going on.
And some
in your
old
collection.
stuff.
Oh yeah, you really want to spice up your collection. I have one of these. And do you have any of the other ones of those?
I just have Metropolis.
So yeah, I've got Metropolis, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, well, that's it for the day. And if you like this, of course, hit the like button. Please subscribe, and of course, share this. If you have any questions or any comments on what we have, of course, write in the comments. We're very quick to answer. So, if anything, see you later. I'll catch you on the next one.